Hey everybody, Smart Silver Stacker here, and it's 2020, and this has been a very volatile year for the metals so far, silver in particular. This is the 1 year chart for silver, and just to illustrate how volatile it's been, you can see in January there we started the year out with silver at about 18 bucks. We had the big crash in March, and it touched all the way down to 12, which is a huge drop, especially when you look at where the price of silver has been for the past 10 years or so. We hadn't touched those prices in some time, and that was a steep drop just in the matter of a few days back in March, along with the rest of the market and most assets, including stocks. And then, of course, from March to August, a span of about 5 months, we had an enormous run up from a low price of 12 bucks all the way up, almost hitting 30 in August. So more than doubling in a 5 month period. Silver was just been on a huge run since March. And this was, I think, in response to the market crash. The government came out with some stimulus, some QE, creating money, running up big debts to basically bail out the people and the companies that were affected by the pandemic. And when you create a lot of money out of thin air, that's going to be bullish for the precious metals, as they are a hedge against inflation. And this volatility that we've seen, I don't think is going to go away as this metals bull market continues. We're going to see big drops. We're going to see even bigger runs up, I think. And you can see that after peaking near $30 back in August, we've had a bit of a pullback in the price of silver and some consolidation, which is, I think, to be expected. After more than doubling, the metal is going to have to take a breather. But this election that we just had, and as far as I can tell, all signs seem to indicate that Joe Biden's going to be inaugurated as our next president in January. That outcome is enormously bullish for precious metals. And really, there's two reasons for that. The first one is fairly obvious, I think, and that is that the money creation that we've been seeing and the increase of debt across the board is not going to slow down under a Biden administration. And that was probably baked into the cake either way the election went. I don't think that the current president had any plans to rein in spending in the near future. So as far as the election goes, either way, it was going to be bullish for silver and gold. But now with a Biden victory, even more so, because I think that the debt creation and the deficit spending is just going to increase to untold levels in the next 4 years. And that's only going to be good for the price of gold and silver. I think they're going to gain nominally, but also they're going to gain relative to other assets like stocks and real estate. And of course, this is just my thoughts on these subjects. None of this should be taken as financial advice. But I can tell you that even with the run up from 12 to the 20s here in silver, I'm still going to be stacking, and I'm still viewing this as just the beginnings of a huge bull market in the metals. The other reason that I view a Biden victory as beneficial for silver is a little bit more circuitous and a little bit more long-term, perhaps, maybe a little more speculative, that this would cause an increase in the price of precious metals. But I think that the Biden administration, more so than our current president, will be in favor of green energy and green technologies, and they're going to have policy in place that favors the development of green energy. And green energy, in a lot of cases, means solar. And silver is a very important component in solar. So if we start seeing a big move towards green energy in this country, especially one that's subsidized either by direct payments or tax incentives by the federal government, that will be beneficial not from a monetary standpoint, like the inflation, but from silver's other characteristic as an industrial metal. It's a critical component in solar panels and has a lot of unique properties that make it very useful in electronics, electric vehicles, solar, all that stuff. So if we see a move towards that type of technology, then I think that also is going to be a huge positive factor for the price of silver. And like I was saying, things are still volatile. I mean, this is a 5-day chart here of silver's price, and you can see back on Monday, I mean, at the open, we dropped from 25.93 all the way down to 23.70. So that's a huge move down in one day in the price of silver. But if you're holding for the long term, these things aren't too scary. Really, I view them as a buying opportunity. For the long term, absolutely. If you're holding metals for the long term, there's going to be a payoff there, I believe. But also for the short term, I mean, if you're speculating a little bit and you're getting involved in derivatives like options or leveraged positions against the metals, the trend is still clearly up. So on a day like that, on Monday, those dips do provide a nice entry point for a short-term position as well. And just to give you an idea of, not just physical precious metals, but miners as well, which are highly correlated to the price of the metals. As when the price of metals go up, these miners' earnings and profits increase as well. This is a chart of the GDX, which is a gold miner ETF, so basically averaging the price of a lot of the big gold miners. And you can see that back in 2011, when gold and silver prices, well, silver was about double what it is now, but gold prices were in a comparable territory to where they are today. You had the GDX topping out at 62.20, and today we're hanging out at 37.57. So it's not just the physical metals, but if you're looking for a paper asset or something maybe a little more speculative, a little more high risk, but also perhaps higher return, these gold miners still present a significant value at these prices, I believe, and they are probably going to be taking out those 2011 highs at some point in the relatively near future before they start heading towards any lower lows, in my opinion. So, of course, miners are a lot more speculative than physical metal. You don't really own them, so questionable as to whether you really own them or not, but for those looking to speculate and get a little bit of leverage to the price of the metals, I think that these gold miners present a real nice opportunity at these prices. So anyway, I am still stacking. I think that the metals prices are absolutely headed higher with the results of the election and with everything that's going on. There's a lot of uncertainty right now. There's a lot of debt being created. There's probably a lot of debt coming down the pipe. If we see another lockdown as a result of the ongoing pandemic and there's some economic havoc caused as a result of that, I think that the government's reaction at this point is predictable. It's going to be a lot more stimulus, a lot more money creation, probably more money being handed out directly to citizens as well as to businesses. And of course, all of that is very bullish for the price of precious metals. How you feel about that one way or the other. I know a lot of people have very strong feelings about the election and, all of these issues from a political standpoint. But I think as an investor, I try to just look at things as they are and how they're going to be rather than looking at it from a biased perspective and trying to take advantage of the trends that exist. So anyway, hope you're all staying safe out there. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to click like and to subscribe. And thanks for watching, everybody. Happy stacking. Smart Silver Stacker out.